So if I would lived in Romania at the time and I owned a Bible, what's my punishment? What law am I breaking?
They will say that there is a law, and nobody will say what the law will be, because remember, no lawyer will take your case to defend. So you will be by yourself. You will know any law, anything, and they will say, because your Bible was printed in America, so you are a spy for America. Explain to us how you got the Bible. Even though, according to that treaty, you have the right. But you can imagine, when I show them the treaty, when I explain it to the judge had to give me the right and to put my clients, make them free because of the treaty and the documents.
What was the penalty for possessing a Bible?
Oh, for 10 years in jail or more or something. Some people disappeared, some people were killed. I mean, there was not, whatever the government wanted to do with you, they will do it.
My guest today is international human rights attorney Virginia Prodan. As a young attorney in Romania under Nicolae Ceausescu's brutal communist regime, Virginia had spent her entire life searching for the truth. She finally found it in the pages of the most forbidden book in all of Romania, the Bible. From that moment on, Virginia accepted the divine call to defend fellow Christians against unjust persecution in an otherwise ungodly land. For this act of treason, she was kidnapped, beaten, tortured, placed under house arrest, and came within seconds of being executed under orders from Ceausescu himself. She was exiled from Romania in 1988 and built a life for herself and children in the United States. I recently sat down with Virginia to talk about her story of courage in the face of intimidation and even death on behalf of others and her unwavering faith in God. Okay, Virginia Prodan, thank you so much for being on my show. I greatly appreciate it.
I'm very happy to be here, Charles.
Virginia, I looked through your book. I read parts of it. The book is Saving My Assassin. Folks, this book, I want to tell you, once again, another guest I have where the book sounds like fiction. I can't believe you actually lived this life. So let's get right into it, Virginia. You were born in Romania in probably one of the worst and most oppressive dictatorships back in the day where communism was the law of the land. You grew up in Ceausescu's Romania, correct?
That's correct.
Communism, socialism, what's so evil about it?
Well, the book Saving My Assassin starts, and I will start sharing with you the fact that I remember even as a young person, 6 years old, seeing my parents and my relatives, my neighbors, being very politically correct outside, trying to do everything that the government will ask them to do, just give away their rights. But I also watched them inside of home, whispering how the government will never stop on taking those rights. And tomorrow will take again and again other rights, and they were so unhappy. And as a young kid, I watched them and I thought, I don't want to live this kind of life. I don't want to grow up like this. And out of that came my desire to look around me and see why adults are not speaking the truth, how to find the truth. I want to stop for a second here, and I want to ask your audience to stop and think about what they see around them, what questions they have, and also what is in their heart and mind. They will say, I'm going to change this. Because that, as I will explain later, will become their mission in life. Those questions and those observations of lack of freedom, desire to find freedom, way to find freedom, became part of my mission in life. And we have to pay attention to those questions, because everybody is born in a specific time, in a specific area, with a specific purpose. And I want out of our interview, your listener, your viewers, to be reminded that we all are precious to each other, because we influence each other and we are here for a purpose. And I want them to think about their purpose in life.
Beautiful message to even start our conversation. So you were born into a government that controlled everything. Ceausescu and his wife ruled the country as if it was their own private, estate. The people were subject to him. Everything was controlled by him. And it was a totalitarian state. You didn't like that. You stood up against that. You became an attorney. What bothered you why don't you conform? Why don't you just be like everyone else?
That's a great question. There are two things that I want to share with your audience. Is when you read my book, you will find out about my childhood that was like many people say Cinderella, a kind of childhood, and it was very hard. But I want you to think as you progress in the book that childhood prepared me for who God wanted me to be. And I was different. I had red hair. I had white skin and freckles and everything. And that in itself prepared me to be different in life and never to be conformed.
Well, let me just say, Virginia, that's a big thing in Romania. To red hair, freckles, it was considered bad things if you had a redhead.
Yes, exactly. We had just one family in that small town at the Black Sea where I grew up, and in that family, only the man had red hair, and he was Jewish. It was so unusual. The strangers coming to visit my town will come and take pictures of me. And that gave me the confidence that I'm okay to be different. And that later on, I was okay to be different and take the government to court.
Okay.
So
before you take the government to court, let me back up. Not everyone read your great book, although I hope they do. So let me just set the stage here for you. You decide that you want to become an attorney in Romania, in Ceausescu's world. And not just a regular attorney to do legal stuff, but what type of attorney?
Human rights and defend Christians.
Okay, so if you want to pick the worst path for career success in a communist country, become an attorney that defends people who believe in God. So you picked a wise career path. So that was going to get you real far, right? Okay.
Yes, that is so true. But as everyone will read the book, they will understand that when God puts on your heart, and as I was 6 years old and later, God put on my heart to understand where to find the truth and how to find the truth and so forth. And I went to law school. Later on, he brought to my life, as I started to become a lawyer and work as a lawyer, he brought into my life a client that had problems with the government, and I helped him. At that time, I had no idea anything about this client, but many times I consider him crazy, because in a land of hopelessness, he was full of hope. In a land of joyless, he was full of joy. But I was always busy with clients coming back and forth, and I never had the opportunity to so-called fix him until a time where I went to, work as an attorney with the confidence that after I graduated from law school, I'm going to find the truth and I'm going to speak up for my clients. Well, one day I came to my office and I was very discouraged. I'm not a quitter by my nature, but that day I was close to just to give up.
Why?
I remember telling my assistant that I don't want to be a lawyer anymore.
Why?
I told her that I tried to find the truth and there is no way I can find the truth. She looked up at me like, where have you been? Where do you live? Come back to reality. And she gave me 3 files and she said, there are 3 clients that will come to see you and one is in your office. And she gave me the files. I took the files and I walked into my office and I noticed the client that was there. There was a client that I used to believe that he was crazy. So as I walked to my office, to my desk, and I stood at my desk thinking, where is the truth? Why I cannot find the truth? I found myself looking at him and say, I wish I had in my life what you had. And he stopped from what he was talking, and saying new things about his case. And he said, do you go to church? And I remember looking back at him and thinking in my mind, I'm so sorry I asked the question. I knew you are crazy. I don't know why I asked the question. But he wrote something on a piece of paper and gave it to me. And he said, would you come to our church next Sunday? And again, I heard myself saying yes. I mean, it's the craziest thing that a lawyer in socialist can say. The dictator just declared himself God, required all of us to worship him. And I had no idea what his church was worshiping. But I'm saying, yes, I'll come to your church. I was that determined to find the truth.
Well, let me ask you something, Virginia. In Romania, there wasn't religious tolerance, correct?
No, it wasn't religious tolerance, but let me explain to you. President Ronald Reagan gave Romania and dictator Ceausescu the most favored nation status attached. The most favored status had a lot of economical benefits for Romania. Dictator used them for himself. But attached to that most favored national status was the respect of human rights and freedom of religion in Romania. But socialism worked on lying. Dictator Ceausescu never publicized that part of the trade with America.
But in Romania, prior to 1980 and Ronald Reagan, were there churches and synagogues in Romania, or was there just a show, 1 or 2, to show that they had some religious tolerance and it was all a joke?
They were show kind of churches that people from another country will be able to come and say, oh, yes, they have open churches, but our open churches were full with some resilient Christians and a lot of spies from government.
Right. So
they will report everything. Yeah.
Right. So to go into it, I just wanted to get our viewers and listeners to understand that these were, as everything was in the communist world, it was all for show. It was all for public appearance. Anyone who went was either a spy, spying on someone, could be used against you, and there were very few people there who took the risk to being thrown in jail, losing their jobs. I just have some experience that when I went to the Soviet Union and we went to a synagogue and they said, no one's going to talk to you because you're an American, you're out of the, most of these people here are KGB spies anyway. So it's just fascinating how even they start to put on shows to make the world believe, and even the people believe that there's something. But you, and by the way, I just want to point this out because I think it's so important. You are a shade under 5 feet tall, because this is going to be very important to the story. And I think you're 5 feet in heels, as your kids told you, right?
Yes.
My
I have to say just that as my client told me and invited me to church, the next Sunday I went to church with my children, and his family waited for us in front of the church. So we went inside, and I heard inside of his church the gospel, and that day I accepted Christ. And that day a lot of I understood also that day that God gave me the desire to find the truth in order to go to law school, that at law school I was looking at the wrong places in law books, that the truth is Jesus Christ, God himself, and I accepted him. And after that, I understood that that was my mission. Right. I didn't have to look for clients, because nobody in Romania at that time would take those Christians to defend them.
So and the Bible was an outlawed book in Romania. That was a book that you can really have.
Yes, it was an outlaw book, but again, socialist and communist works on lies. Is when Ronald Reagan gave the most favored nation status to Romania, attached with respecting the human rights and religious rights, it was in that treaty that missionaries from America or other country can come to Romania, can be in the church, and they can provide Bibles for churches. And that was the reason why people in Romania have here and there some Bibles. But nobody knew this. By the grace of God, I found out those documents, and I defended Christians and people that were put in jail for having a Bible.
So wait, one second. So if I would lived in Romania at the time and I owned a Bible, what's my punishment? What law am I breaking?
They will say that there is a law, and nobody will say what the law will be, because remember, no lawyer will take your case to defend. So you will be by yourself. You will know any law, anything, and they will say, because your Bible was printed in America, so you are a spy for America. Explain to us how you got the Bible. Even though, according to that treaty, you have the right. But you can imagine, when I showed them the treaty, when I explained it to the judge had to give me the right and to put my clients, make them free because of the treaty and the documents.
What was the penalty for possessing a Bible?
Oh, for 10 years in jail or more or something. Some people disappeared. Some people were killed. I mean, there was not, whatever the government wanted to do with you, they will do it.
Why was the Bible such a threat to Ceausescu and socialism and the Romanian political hierarchy? What did this book have that they were so fearful of?
The Bible, and you and me as a Christian, will be a threat, not only in Romania, but for any socialist or communist government, because we remain loyal to Christ. Christ is, and God is the one giving us freedom, not the government. And for that reason, they consider us traitors. They want us to betray Christ. And when we don't, they put us in jail. They kill us. They will cripple us or whatever.
Okay.
The socialist and communist government, it's a government that consider or say that gives you freedom. Every government who gives you freedom takes your liberties away.
Okay. Just for the record, you and I, I'd be prosecuted because I'm Jewish, not Christian. So we'd both be in the same boat for different reasons, but we'd both be there because we both believe in the Bible. So clients would find you because you were defending them against a government that was putting people in jail for up to 10 years for possessing a Bible. So Christians would find you specifically because they knew that you were the one that they had a fighting chance in court. But weren't the courts kangaroo courts, basically whatever the government wanted they did, or there was actually a rule of law that they followed? You were able to argue cases and win?
Yes, I was able to argue cases and win. One thing that I want to emphasize is this. When God gives you a mission, he never gave me a blueprint, but he gave me guidance and all the needs for the next step. So I want to tell you that when clients came to me and asked me to defend them as a lawyer, what do? Start to look and see if there is a law that protects them. And I went and, to law school, library, and all kind of things. And I searched for it. At that time, I was a Christian, so I pray a lot. And I said, Lord, if you want me to defend them, help me to find it. When one day I found a book in a very specific area where there would be like rare books or something like this, and that book was open there. I opened it, I found it, and I heard the Lord saying, I found the law that protected Christians, and God asked me to make copies of this. And I did. It wasn't a mistake that I found that book. Somebody forgot that book there, forgot to put it inside and lock the door because it was locked before. But this is how God works, provides every single thing. When I defended for the first time clients having a Bible, and I started to talk about the law, the judge looked at me like, you are crazy. What are you talking about? Well, I went to my desk and I picked up the copies and I gave it to a judge and to the prosecutor. They turned red. At that time, I had no idea why they turned red and everything. And they said that they have to take a recess and everything. And
so wait, Virginia, 1 second. Before this, no lawyer ever defended clients because they had no idea about this law?
Yes. Uh-huh.
You were the first to...
Yes, or if they will try to do it, they will be put in jail before they will be in the courtroom. So I also want to tell you, I am alive by the grace of God. I am not a hero. In everything that you see in my life, you see God's protection, God's direction. And I want people to be encouraged, because if you are 100% for God, and if you want to do what He's asking you to do, He will protect you. He will take you to victory. Okay. Let me tell you, what they were saying, that they have to take a recess and everything. I was just fine with them. I find out that, in a few hours that I won the case and everything, and I was very happy. Well, later at home, when I put my kids to sleep, in Romania, we have 2 radio stations, American radio station that will penetrate to Romania, but they were in Germany, Free Europe and Voice of America. Right. And we were told not to listen, because listen to them, we would know what was outside of the Berlin Wall. And so I listened to Voice of America, and all of a sudden I realized that I was the news. I became the news, and they was telling, what I did and how I gave copies and everything and how I won the case. And on one hand, it was good. I was happy that the entire world knew about what I was doing. But I knew that the secret police, the Securitate of the government, could come anytime in my home and arrest me or kill me immediately, thinking that I am a spy of America.
So winning that case put a target on your back.
Yes. But what I found later on was that was when I was in the courtroom giving those copies and arguing my case and everything, behind me, unknown to me, there were representatives from all the Western civilization, taking notes about what I was doing and telling everybody, look, there is a woman here, 25, 26 years old, under 5 feet tall, 82 pounds, and she is taking the government to court and winning because of those laws that she's using. Do you see how God protected me, how God provided? I didn't know at that time.
But let me ask you something. What made them, the Western observers, what made them come to the court that day? Was this the first time a case to defend the Bible and to defend Romanian citizens against incarceration ever happened?
American embassy started to be very involved with my cases, and they found out. They were the first one to find out that I filed a case and so forth, and they started to follow me. And through the American embassy, the other embassies. But later on, congressmen like Frank Wolf and Christopher Smith, Secretary of State, will come to Romania, and before they will go and talk with the dictator, they will come and talk with me. So you can imagine that the dictator was not very happy. At one point, it was my protection for my life, but in the same time, it was the dictator took all the revenge possible. I was arrested, tortured, placed under house arrest.
Wait, stop a second, stop it. You're how old, 25 years old?
Yes, because when we, in Romania, at that time, we will finish 12th grade and we will be allowed to go to graduate school. We didn't have a college. So I was 25 years old by the time I graduated from law school.
So you're 25 years old, you have two little children, you're taking on a police state where they put people away for 10 years in jail. You're the only attorney that ever comes up with this defense based on their laws, based on something you got, and there's a whole group of Western correspondents in the room, and you're the front page news in Romania, especially with
not in Romania,
in the
outside
world? Outside Romania.
Outside of Romania.
Okay.
I had no even idea that they were behind me.
Well, forget about that. That goes without saying. But now, though you get the worst publicity in the world, is the secret police now have your name and number. And you didn't make them look good today.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the stage I want to set. Now, let's jump to the next part, because you just said, rattled it off like it was, oh, by the way, it was a walk in the park. They arrest you? Who watches your kids? They just take you in the middle. What do? They come to your office?
The socialist and communist government does not work on the truth, but lies. The arrest was always for hours. I was beaten. I was full of blood.
Wait. Why did they arrest you? Why did they arrest you? What was your crime?
They never told me. The only thing that they said was this. When we allowed you to be in law school and to be one of the 100 students in law school, we consider that you will be loyal to the government who gave you the chance to be in law school.
Lawyer, yeah.
To be a lawyer and defend the government against those dissidents, not the other way around.
So you double crossed them. They said, look, we're the state, we know best, we're taking care of you. That's what socialism tells you. The state will take care of you. You go around and you stick your finger in their eye and you embarrass them throughout the world. That's the way they saw it.
Yes.
And you have to pay the price. So they arrest you on some trumped up charge, apparently, right? They take this 25, 26-year-old mother with two children and they torture you?
Yes.
What does torture mean? Explain that to me. Does that mean they didn't give you dinner? What does torture mean?
Oh, it's everything that you see in the movie and more than that, absolutely. But what they never expected me is that under interrogation and torture, and I have to say that I never expected myself, but God knew and knows always what he was doing. Under those circumstances, God helped me to understand, express, and apply what loving your enemies means and look like.
Okay, hang on 1 second. Hang on 1 second. 1 second. Just slow down because my mind cannot capture all you're throwing at me now. It's too much. They're interrogating you and torturing you to confess to what?
To confess that I was just crazy and everything that I said in the cases are not good, that I'm not mentally correct or something like this. And I said, no, I don't want to sign those papers.
So they basically want to make you a crazy person. This is a one-off event and discredit everything you have done so you cannot embarrass them in the future.
That's correct.
Now, they're torturing you, and I don't want to even get into the terrible torture they probably did to you. Are you thinking of your two daughters at this point, that you might not come home? And
yes.
You know what? Maybe it's just so much easier. Let me just sign whatever stupid papers they want. I know who I am inside. Let me go home and see my kids and hug them.
As a Christian, then and now, my principle is I don't want to live without Christ 1 second.
Okay, stop 1 second. As a mother of two children, children that would grow up alone, you're 25, 26 years old, you're 82 pounds. I don't know how much torture you could absorb. As a mother, let me just sign this stupid piece of paper, tell them what they want, and let me go home.
This piece of paper means that I betray my Lord. He gave me this mission. It was not mine. It was not my idea. And he said in the Bible that he will never leave us or forsake us. I knew that he was there. He told me, told everyone in the Bible that there is no wisdom, no insight, no plan that can succeed against the Lord. Proverbs 21:30. And I believe in that. It was hard.
So that gave you strength when you're being tortured. You're not thinking of your not coming home to your two children. In fact, you're thinking the opposite. That I'm not only going to survive this, I'm going to come out stronger, and God's going to protect me.
Yes, and I always believe they have a job to do it. I have a job to do it too.
Okay, so
and out of that, I remember telling them, I don't like what you are doing. It's painful what you are doing. They knew that. But I know God loves you, and I choose to love you.
But how could God love evil? How could God love evil? These people are evil. How could God love evil people? We all are sinful people. No, I'm talking sinful. I'm talking evil. These are evil people. How could God love evil people if God is a God of goodness?
Because God created us in his image. And those evil people, that's the way God asked me to look at them and see them. Those evil people are doing evil acts because they were captured by the evil one and they are under his tent. And God wanted me to show them love and respect no matter what they are doing, so they can see that there is another way of living, and allow God in me to take them from the tent of the evil one to his tent, like he did with me. And I don't know, in heaven God will show me, but they were crying and turning their heads because they didn't know what to do with me. Every single person, no matter how evil they might act toward us or others, they are looking for God. They are looking for love, unconditional love, of God.
All right.
And those people were looking too. And yes, it is a very hard circumstance, but God can use us for His glory to accomplish that.
All right. Well, we're not going to debate this with you. I have a very difficult and almost impossible thing to believe that evil people, God wants us to love them. I can't see anyone loving a Nazi or people that put my grandparents' family in concentration camps and crematoriums, that these people are to be loved, but let's put that aside. You now escape with your life. You're telling me your captors and your torturers now are moved by your heroic actions. I know you don't want to use that word, but I will. Your heroic actions. You now come out of being incarcerated and being tortured, and now what?
I go to court and I do the same kind of things and everything that I was supposed to do.
You don't stop. You don't stop 1 second.
No, because it's not your energy and it's not your cleverness. It's the power of Christ in you. And that is what moved me, what motivated me to do. And that's what I have done.
Okay, so now Ceausescu is not happy with this 82-pound dynamo who does not know what defeat is and does not know what giving up is and who he cannot break. So he sends an assassin to kill you.
Yes.
Yes. I love the way you answer yes, like
Well,
I asked you a question like, what did you do Wednesday? I went to walk in the park. Of course. So he sends an assassin to kill you. And this assassin is, if I remember the book, 6'10", pretty tall guy. Comes into your office, your assistant leaves for the night, you're sitting in your chair, 82-pound Virginia, with 6'10" Mr. Assassin, and he says, what?
I'm not your client. I'm here to kill you. And he points his gun at me and he starts screaming and saying in details who sent him, the dictator, and what the dictator told him.
So you want Ceausescu's private list of people, that his to-do list, people to be killed today? Oh, Virginia Prodan. And he sends an assassin to kill you. You pose such a threat to the Romanian government and to his rule because you're embarrassing the government by defending Christians and defending the Bible in a place where it shouldn't exist. And congressmen from the United States are coming, and from what I remember, are visiting you before they visit him, Ceausescu. So you're a pretty big shot.
Well, he explained it to me why. He explained it to me that President Ronald Reagan decided because the dictator does not stop to do this and respect the treaty. The President Ronald Reagan wants to take the most favored nation status, and they believe that I was the reason.
So you were the reason to cost him billions of dollars of economic aid and benefits because this little lady is defending people in court and winning.
Yes, that's what he said, and that's what he was screaming, and he was just giving me every details because I really believe that he believed, as I believe at that time, that was the end of my life.
So at that point, Virginia, I know it must be painful to even remember that day. Or maybe not for you. You're a superwoman anyway. Are you thinking that I'm never going to see my two kids again?
Yes, as he was screaming, I was looking at the picture of my kids, and that was the feeling that this is the end. I will never see my kids again. And I remember my knees were shaken, my stomach was making noise, and I heard my heart in my ears. It was so much noise inside of me. I believe, shaking. My body was shaking, and he was screaming. So it was, noise outside. But in all those noise around me, inside of me, I heard the Lord, I sensed the Lord saying, share the gospel.
Okay, so now my heart's pounding just listening to this story 20 years later. So anyway, you're sitting there. He has the gun in your face. He could pull that trigger any moment, and you're done. You hear a voice tell you, share the gospel. So what do?
I listen. I learn not to question God. He has a reason. And because in Romania, we didn't have Bibles, or when we have the Bibles, we'll memorize Bible verses. It was very easy for me to say it. So I approached him saying, I understand you have a job to do it. I would love to share with you some things before you do your job. Would you allow me to do it? And he nodded. And I started to recite the Bible. And as he put the gun down on the table and he listened to me, and as I recited the Bible, his shoulders went down and he started to melt under God's word by word from the Bible. And I was mesmerized. I never had seen something like this in my life. And as I watched him, I'm thinking, when I finish, he's going to kill me. And I forgot my words. So I started to paraphrase, but maybe only 2 or 3 sentences, because as I started to say my own words, he came back to the big man statue, I'm here to kill you. I pray like never in my life. And the good Lord brought the Bible, the gospel back to me. And I shared the gospel with him, and he accepted Christ.
How long is this going on? Give me the time span from him sitting down with the gun in your face to you starting to speak the gospel. How long before he says, you got me? 10 minutes, a half hour, 1 hour? How long's a period of time?
I don't think it was more than half an hour. I don't think.
A half an hour, your life is threatened. You spin this around in a few minutes where he puts the gun down and says, I'm with you?
Yeah, several times when I talk with him that we all are sinners and we turn from God, that we need salvation and everything, he will know and everything. And at the end, he answered more, he listened more and more. I asked him if he wants to accept Christ as his Savior, and he said yes, and I pray with him. And he promised me that he will come to church. He will come to church and act like a secret police, but he will be my brother.
Aren't you concerned that tomorrow they're going to send another assassin to kill you?
I stood on that chair, I don't know for how long, after he left. I couldn't believe what happened. And I couldn't think about something worse than that happened. I just rejoice that one of those ferocious people in the interrogation room, hitting and, making me full of blood, I was able to see one of them walking from the tent of the evil one to Christ. And that was such a joy. I remember sitting there and just thinking that, trying to figure out, it happened. It really happened, but that's how God works.
Okay. Now the story goes where the story of your life continues on, where not everything's sunshine and rainbows. You're thrown out of Romania, 1988, I believe, or was that
yes.
Right? 1988. You're thrown out of Romania, your birthplace, where your family was born, and your grandparents and all your friends. Kicked out with your two children. You're pregnant at the time. You have no money. You leave
I
with
didn't know one word in English.
one word in English. You know nothing. You pregnant, two children, and your husband, and you land where?
In Dallas, Texas.
How the heck do you get to Dallas, Texas?
Well, that's a story in the book. It's again, I pray for. That's the way my God work, my life works. I don't do anything, or I don't make decisions in my life without God. So God sent me here.
Okay.
But here I am. No English, no friends, no money. Arriving in Dallas, Texas, and shortly after that, after we arrived in Dallas, Texas, something else happened. My husband left us, and I found myself a single mom with 3 kids now, no English, no money, living in a foreign country.
And you're all alone here. You're all alone here, raising 3 children with no husband and no income.
Yes.
And do you know English at this time?
No English.
No English.
My kids knew more English than I knew because they will go to public school. But I learned English. I went. I started to work. I went back to law school.
Wait. What were you doing? What kind of job are you getting with 3 little kids at home?
Every single job that was possible, every single job. And I did jobs when they were at school. And a job is something that you do. Who you are in Christ is your identity.
No, but what did you do? Give me an example. What did you do to put food on your table?
The first job that I did was to go to my church and ask my church if they want to hire me as a worker in daycare, so I can be with my son and I can also work and have some money. Later on, when I went to law school, I was an assistant to my professors. So I took 3 kids to 3 places, school and daycare. I went to law school. I worked for my professors, and I came home to pick them up, and I did more work. That's how I rebuilt my life.
Okay, so not only that, you become an American citizen, naturalized citizen. Your 2 daughters and your son become citizens. You graduate SMU, I believe?
SMU Law School, and I raised 3 children.
Before you tell me about raising them, let's talk more about you, because you are just amazing. You graduate SMU with what degree? What degrees?
I graduated in 3 years, what normal people will graduate in 4 years.
Well, you're not normal, so that goes without saying. If you told me you did it in a week and a half, I'd believe you. So
I graduated with a Juris Doctor and Masters of Laws. Yes, 2 degrees.
So you come to this country with nothing. 2 children, 3 children, husband leaves you, you start, you build, you go to school, you learn English, you become a lawyer. You then you start practicing?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the practice you do is what?
Federal, it's my own law firm, and I do federal law.
You start your own law firm?
Yes, I started my own law firm, and I do freedom of religion and immigration and all the federal, and yeah.
Okay,
and
so
in the same.
What do you do in your spare time? But that was a joke. So anyway, then you raise 3 children, and your 3 children are just, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Your daughter also graduates SMU?
Yes.
Your other daughter is, I think she doesn't go to SMU. She goes to Ivy League, right? She's Harvard Law?
Harvard Law, yes.
Right. And your son's a pilot in the U.S. Air Force?
Yes, graduated from United States Air Force Academy. Yes. Okay.
So you're...
And all of them are walking with the Lord.
Okay, that goes without saying. With a mom like you, how could you not? Just walking with you is honor enough, but they got the Lord also. Boy, oh boy, they're having a fun day. So your 3 children, your son, I believe you told me, was a helicopter rescue pilot.
Yes.
Okay.
So rescue helicopter.
So I want to wrap this up, Virginia, and I just want to tell you, folks, if you didn't read this book yet, go get it. Go to, and I believe you sign these on your site. Give me that
Yes,
web address.
They can go to virginiaprodanbooks.com/contact. And if they want to buy books from my website, they can buy it from there, and I can sign the book.
Amazing. So you have led a life which I can't even think of an adjective to what it is. Miraculous, heroic, courageous. Put them all together, and I don't think it measures. Could you please share with people who are listening, when you hear people in this country talk about socialism, talk about forms of government other than democracy and capitalism as a form of economic, forms of an economy, and how America is not a great country and there is social inequalities, what do you say to that?
I have been watching America and American people from overseas for many years in Romania. And I have been the one that many missionaries and congressmen and senators and secretary of state will come to me and hug me when I was in Romania and under pressure and whisper in my ears, "Go on, we are for you. Go on and do what you're doing. It's amazing." And I also watch you from here, as an American citizen and growing with you as Americans. I want to say American people are the most generous people in the whole world. We as Americans, because I'm an American citizen, we brought freedom and Christ to people all over the world. It's time for us to bring freedom and Christ back to America. And this is the reason why we are here. I hope that listening to my story, reading my book, you will be motivated to understand that there is a very good reason for you to be now and during this time here in America. So you can trust God and you can let Him work in your life. God worked in my life and changed Romania from a socialist country to a democratic country. God can use each one of us wherever we are and be a tool in His hands to change America and fight against the desire and the lies about socialism. Because America and capitalist America offer freedom and opportunities to everyone. America offered me opportunities to rebuild my life. Socialists will take the freedom away from you. And if you really want to know and understand how socialism works and also how God can work in your life, I really advise you to take the book Reading, because you will understand. I take the reader by my hand and they walk with me in socialism. And I also hope that you will share the book or buy another book for someone else to understand that. We are at a tipping point in America and we have to fight for freedom. Otherwise, I have to tell you, socialism was in Romania for 53 years. 75 years in Russia, and look in China and other countries. Socialism, when establishes, will remain in position for a very long time. So I just want you to encourage and to understand that your life is precious, that God can do in your life what you think it's impossible. If you look at everything that I said to you, you might say, or maybe said several times, impossible, impossible. God made it possible because that's how God works. And He will make it possible in your life too. He's just waiting for us to let him work in our lives. And your life will never be the same. And America will never be the same.
The book is Saving My Assassin by Virginia Prodan. Virginia, I couldn't say it any better. It's truly an honor and a privilege to have you today on the show. And I want to thank you so much and wish you only the best, you and your family, for many years to come. Thank you so much, Virginia.
Thank you so much. It's an honor and privilege to be here with you, Charles. And I believe it's an honor and privilege to be with each one of you that you are listening, because I am in front of you, encouraging you to say, take the assignment that God is giving you. Hear from him, because he will change you and will change America forever.
Beautiful.
And for good.
Thank you so much, Virginia. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Charles Mizrahi Show. If you're a new listener, welcome. If you've been listening for a while, we're glad to have you back. Either way, we'd love to know what you think of the show. Please leave a review if you listen on Apple Podcasts. Reviews make it easier for others to find the show. You can also see the video of the interview on the Charles Mizrahi Show channel on YouTube.